I'm C.W. Erickson, and this amazing machine is my Big Squeeze bow press. Big Squeeze was designed about 4 years ago for the new parallel limb bows that were coming out. Limb styles were changing. The old conventional bow presses could not compress these bows. So rather than draw the bow down through the press, we made a press that would actually squeeze the bow together. So you're not drawing it down, you're squeezing it in, and you've got 7.5 inches of travel here. So even the most parallel limb bows are very easily done with this press. We have a nylon strap which makes it easy and smooth to compress it. It's a 4,100 pound strap, you'll never wear it out. On one side, one power arm moves back and forth to adjust for your axle length. Okay. We have a no-slip brake winch on this side, so when you want to compress the bow, all you do is turn the crank clockwise. To decompress, there's no cogs to flip, you just back it off, like so. It's very simple, very easy. You want to see it work? Now, before we get started, I'd like to go over some of the advantages and features of the Big Squeeze bow press. As you've noticed, over the last few years, the bows, their styles, the limb styles, the cams have changed dramatically. You no longer can compress a bow like this anywhere on this limb. The limb power band goes all the way from the limb bolt to within an inch of that axle. So you cannot compress that bow down in here with your conventional bow press with wheels, whatever. You have to be out of that power band around those cams. So what we did, we made something called the limb fork. It's adjustable for wide limb or narrow limb bows. What we've done is we've made a couple guides for each side. Like if you're going to be working on the narrow limb bows, you put the guides on and it keeps the cam centered between those Delrin pads. It simply clips into the head on the bow press. And we've made these all detachable, so if somebody comes out with something next year, all we have to do is make a new head. You can pull this one out, stick in another head to accommodate that particular bow. We also have a tape measure that we've added to the back of the main frame of the bow press. This tape measure is what you'll do is you'll have a chart, and every time you get a bow in, you mark on that chart what the bow is, the axle length, and on the limb fork you'll mark the number on the chart and the number of the links in the chain that you'll use with the pull strap that we provide you for your parallel limb bows. Now all you have to do here is when a bow comes in, the power arm here slides back and forth like so. You just read the chart to whatever that is, and we'll put it at about 3.5, and that will do that AR-34 from Archery Research. So we'll give that a try. Now when you get a bow in, the first thing you have to determine is the proper place to set the press to efficiently compress that bow. Now when you put a bow in here, which you really want to do is have these power arms parallel with your main frame. That way when you're squeezing that bow, it's going to squeeze it in rather than up or down. What you do here is you put some straps on here, and this is all, we were just looking at the chart and we've already set this bow in here before. So on our chart we're at 3.5, and it says to use 2 links of the chain. So our pull strap would be setting 2 links of the chain on both sides. And make them even and as far out on that riser as possible. As long as you have 2 links in the chain, everything is going to be even, it's going to compress evenly. You make sure that your pads are wide enough so that the cam will slide down through there, and of course you've got the guides on there, so it's going to keep that cam and that wheel between those pads. And all you do is you compress the bow. Very simple, very easy. This can be done on crossbows. We've done over 200-pound crossbows. We can do any bow from 16 inches to 43 inches. And when you get into the older conventional style limbs, we can do every bow that's out there. When you're all done, you can concentrate on making sure that that string's in place, You can leave all your accessories on here, except for long stabilizers, of course, sights, quivers, whatever. And then all you do, you don't have to flip any cogs, you just back that winch off, and it's done. I'll show you a couple more bows just to show the versatility of things that you can do and how quickly you can do them with this press. Here we have a Bowtech Tribute, which is a very parallel limb bow. On our chart, we've already done this bow. We have 4.5 on our main frame and 2 links of the chain. So what I do is bring this in power arm into 4.5. We want to make sure that, again, when we're doing parallel limb bows, that these power arms are as parallel as possible to make sure that you're squeezing in. When you're doing conventional limb bows, it's not as important. Just bring this in still. Make sure that your guides and your pads are wide enough so that the limb will fit right onto the Delrin pads. And we have 2 links of the chain here. Always important to make sure that you have both sides equal, so everything pulls equally on the bow. Once you're set, she's ready to go. Again, very simple, very easy. Easy to work on the bow. Back it off. Now we have a 10-point Pro Slider 175-pound crossbow. It's a 26-inch axle length. On our chart, we have 11 on our tape measure and 4 links in our chain. So what we'll do is we'll bring a power arm up to 11 inches. And tighten it down. Idler arm will be centered. Bow on the pads, make sure that the pads are wide enough so that the guides are on the outsides of the limb. And then we have 4 links of the chain, so we just make sure that we use 4 here, and equally 4 on the other side. Basically tighten it up, make sure that it's centered. Bingo. That's 175 pounds, nothing to it. Here I have an older conventional limb bow. This is an old Pro line. It's an 80-pound bow. What I've done is just open the press up all the way. It doesn't matter if the power arms are parallel because these bows are not that critical. Once you have it between the guides, again, it's an 80-pound bow. There's nothing to it. So we can go from this bow to a crossbow to a parallel limb bow in just a matter of seconds. Now, in the last couple of years, companies like PSE, Bowtech, and Matthews have come out with a very radical limb style that I call Beyond Parallel. This bow actually wants to pull through the press, and when you're going to decompress it, it wants to jump out of the press. So we don't use the limb pads with the guides anymore. We designed what we call a limb gripper that goes on each side of the limb and cradles that bow right at the axle. These clip onto the limb pads, right on the limb forks, one on each side, on both sets. Slide them on there like that, and they adjust with the limb pad, or the limb fork. We no longer use the chain straps anymore because they're not necessary. We don't want to pull that bow down through the press. We just want to squeeze it out. Now we've already got it set at, we're set at 4 here, and that's what we have on our chart. So we put the cams up into the limb grippers, make sure that they're centered. Everything is centered. And what we want this now, so these grippers have, these limbs are cradling that limb all the way down to where the power band starts. Okay, now we compress that bow. If we want to do a total breakdown, let's say you have to change a limb or a cam or whatever, we just take these off. And decompress. Power side normally on these wants to go a little bit quicker, so we just kind of guide that. And as you can see, it's still cradled into these limb grippers, so it cannot jump out of the limb grippers, it cannot fall through the limb grippers. When you're done making your repairs, whatever, here again, you concentrate on your strings and what's going on with the bow, and then you just back it off. Very simple, very safe. Here we have a Bowtech General, which probably has the widest cam on the market. What we do is we open the limb forks all the way. It fits in just like it does with the PSE. Between the pads. Make sure everything is centered. And bingo. Quick and easy. We actually can do beyond parallel limb bows, we can do parallel limb bows. Most conventional bows under 41 inches, and parallel limb bows, as long as they don't have an obstruction. An obstruction would be either a draw stop on the cam, or there would be a string suppressor on the end of the limb. When you would have that, you would have to use the limb pads, or the limb forks with the pads and the guides on there. You could not use the limb grippers. Here we have a Bear Truth 2. Although this isn't beyond parallel, it has a power band that still goes all the way up to within an inch of that axle. So we have to be up out of that power band. We can use the grippers on here because there's no obstruction. There's no draw stops, there's no string suppressors off the limb. We don't have to have it cradled as much as we do on the beyond parallel limb bows because we don't worry about it falling through the press. Bingo. Work on that bow, do whatever repairs we need to do, very simple, very easy. And when we're done, we just concentrate on that bow. As long as the bow is less than 41 inches, we can use these limb grippers. If it's over 41 inches, we have to go to the Delrin pads. And now in conclusion, I'd like to point out that you do not use the limb grippers while compressing crossbows. Always use the Delrin pads on the limb forks and the pull straps to do any crossbows that you're going to compress. Now my goal has been to design a compound bow press that would compress all bows. And as you've seen, the big squeeze bow press with the adjustable limb forks and pull straps can compress conventional limb bows, parallel limb bows, and crossbows. And when we add the limb grippers, we can do parallel limb bows, some parallel limb bows, some conventional limb bows, no crossbows, but we can also compress and totally break down the beyond parallel limb bows. Now I hope you enjoyed our demonstration. Thanks for watching, and shoot straight.